We are so excited to welcome in Coach Larry Fedora. I'm someone who calls anyone coach, no matter if they're still coaching, was a coach. You just gotta, apply that coach no matter where they are in the game. You have coached for more than 30 years, and now you've hung it up. But I am so honored to have you here. My memory is as the North Carolina football Tar Heels head coach, but you've made a number of stops. We'll talk about all of them. And you just hung it up as the USFL New Orleans Breakers coach. And now you're spending lots of time with your family down there in Waco. Thank you for joining. We're so excited to get this scoop from you today, and really glad to have you here.
Well, I'm glad to be here. I'm excited to talk to you.
Tell me, you, like I said, have kind of said goodbye to coaching, or are we just taking a little break? Like, where are we at now?
Well, that's a good question. You never say never. So, but I'm definitely taking a break. That's for sure. I'm getting to do things now that I have never done in my entire life. And from playing golf in the month of August, September, October, hunting in the fall. We've traveled to, Jackson Hole, Wyoming. We've gone to games across the country. So we're having a blast, but it's been something I've never got to experience.
Isn't that so cool to just kind of be a fan, if you will, and just to get to do all of those things? I'm sure you never had a weekend. Was there a point that you had in your life where you knew you wanted to be a coach? I know you played. When did you know you wanted to do this career of yours?
Yeah, I was a freshman in high school when I knew that I wanted to be a football coach. I knew I wanted to go as long as I could playing. And whenever that was over with, I wanted to coach football. I was very passionate about the game. I loved everything about it. I loved the grind of the off season. I loved it all. And so I knew I wanted it to be a part of my life.
Was there someone that inspired you, or someone that you modeled your coaching career after once you got into it? Who kind of guided you, if you will?
Yeah, I had a freshman football coach by the name of John Cook, who kind of was very inspirational to me and was extremely hard on all of us as players. But we knew he loved us. We knew he cared about us, and he had a huge impact on my life. And I knew back then when I was a freshman, I wanted to have that same kind of impact on young men's lives for as long as I possibly could. And, to try to grow people into, good men, good husbands, good fathers, good citizens, because that's what it's all about.
I like that. And so was his philosophy, did you model like your coaching philosophy, or more of kind of your mentorship philosophy?
Probably more the mentorship philosophy. I would say over the years, I just, everybody that I ever coached with, and a lot of them that I coached against, I took things from all of them and learned and put my philosophy together and became the coach who I was. Probably when I coached high school ball in the state of Texas, the coach that I coached under, his name was Scott Smith. Scott at Garland High School. Scott probably had the biggest impact on me as a coach and how you coached. And I've always believed in coaching people hard and getting after them and demanding the most out of them. And if you demand a lot, usually they'll rise to the occasion.
Well, not to make this podcast all about me, but it is called Scoop du Jour, so I will. I worked indirectly for you. I got to work for your running backs coaches. I say coaches because one of them got an NFL job, which he still has. Amazing.
Still there, yeah.
That was amazing. And I actually saw his Commanders beat up on the Bears. It wasn't a great game, but that's Randy Jourdan. And then later,
one of the captains on that team is Cole Holcomb from UNC.
That team is full of Tar Heels, by the way. We've got Sam Howell, De'Ami Brown too.
Yeah.
It's full of Tar Heels. So I'm like, I was sitting there not a Bears fan. I'm like, am I a Washington fan? So Randy Jourdan, I worked for at Carolina. And then you brought in Larry Porter when Coach Jourdan went to Washington. And I worked for him when I was at Carolina. So we say we indirectly worked for you, Coach. And you're talking about your philosophy. And I feel like being in that building, we felt that, right? Like as women in the building, we were there for recruiting help, but you felt like these guys really wanted to work so hard for you and they wanted to be part of your program. And you had this philosophy of smart, fast, physical. Was that something you came up with? I mean, was that something that was always part of your way? Where did that part come from?
Yeah, it was just something that started way back for me. When you
Yeah.
start putting a philosophy together and you start borrowing from all different people all over the place. And that was kind of just a quick 3 words that put it all together: were smart, fast, and physical. One thing I'll say about Randy Jourdan and Larry Porter, those were 2 guys that were, they were great coaches. They loved their players. They got the most out of their players. And those players knew they loved them, and that was something that was very important to me, is to have coaches that cared about kids. As long as they cared about kids, they could coach them hard and the kids would respond.
Is that part so hard when you get a new job to not only move your family, but then right away to compile a new staff?
Yeah, that's putting a staff together is probably the hardest part about college football. I mean, and maybe in any profession, but especially in our profession, where you try to build relationships in recruiting areas, and so those guys get ingrained to certain areas, and then if they leave and somebody else hires them, then you lose. You go backwards in that recruiting area. So putting a staff together is so important, but you got to do it the right way. You got to hire the right guys. If you do that, you'll have a lot less headaches in the future.
And it's changing so much. I mean, even every day now, you have guys going places, obviously, where they can get NIL deals. And I mean, the whole game is evolving. But do you feel like it still has the best pieces or parts of college football are what make it so special? Do you feel like the game still has that despite all of the changes to the game?
Yeah, I mean, because it's still about the players, and they're the ones that make it great, and their stories and their backgrounds and where they come from and how they come together as a team, and to see a group of guys, that overcome adversity and come to love each other and have a bond that they'll have for the rest of their lives. That's just it's an amazing feeling.
How do you know for you when a coaching fit is the right fit? You've made a good amount of spots in these big places. And I think even when you were taking the UNC job, there were other places calling, right? How do you know when a place is right for you?
Well, I don't know if you ever really know. It's the same thing like when you get married. I mean, when you're trying to make that decision, I don't know if you really know at that point. But I'm 34 years into a marriage, so it worked out pretty good. But even at that, I remember back when I was trying to make that decision, and I was like, God, is this right? And so you pray about it, and you find out as much information as you possibly can, and then you make a decision, and you never look back. You never look back.
I think you made a good decision with your marriage, though. 34 years is something pretty significant. And so take me through that. I mean, what's the secret? 34 years is a pretty big deal.
Well, first of all, people don't really realize this about college coaches, but I've been at like 10 different universities. Okay. So,
Yeah.
or 9, I believe. And so you usually get hired in the month of December. All right.
Yeah.
So as soon as the season's over with, you got to go. You're gone to the next place. And your wife and 4 kids stay there. And your wife starts, cleaning up the house and making it sellable and finding realtors and doing all the things that she's got to do. And keep going to school with the kids, getting the kids to school, and selling the house. And then at the end of the school year, moving to the new place. And at the same time, finding a house and finding the right school systems and the doctors and the pediatricians and all the different things that go into it. And so, you got to have a very, very special person as a coach's wife. And so I've been very lucky. My wife, Christy, is pretty special. I wouldn't have gotten to wherever I gotten without her. I promise you.
There's so many aspects of coaching that people don't realize, that being one of them. The moving it is a big deal, and moving is no fun. And then you add in having to move probably across the country, and like for you, assembling a coaching staff. And like you said, you have 4 kids, all of those things. Back to your wife, how did you guys meet?
We met in college, actually. So, yeah, we were at a little small school, and I played football there, and she was a cheerleader, and we met in a psychology class. Actually, I was we're getting ready to take an exam, and I'm looking around in the class, seeing who's taking good notes, and I see this girl over here, and she looks like she's taking a lot of good notes, and so I asked her if she wanted to study for this exam, and the rest is kind of history from there.
That is such a good story. And did she help you? Did you do well on the exam? You remember?
I made a better grade than she did, actually.
Stop it. I bet you hold that over her. I love that.
She's not real happy about that, but
Hey, it lasted. Something's working. That's amazing. Okay, and then your 4 kids, are they all spread out now that you're back in Texas? Like, where is everyone?
Yeah, so I have a son who is 30, and he is he's in Austin, Texas right now, and I have a daughter who's 27, and she's in Nashville, Tennessee. I've got a daughter who is 25 and 24, and she is in Austin, Texas. And then we have a daughter who's a junior in Tuscaloosa at the University of Alabama, and she's the last one.
Okay, the last one. So you have one still in college. So this is something I have always wondered. Like you said, you've been at 9 schools, and then you have 4 kids, and then you have your school is smaller, but you had one go to Alabama. One of your daughters went to Texas.
I had one go. So I had one went to my son went to Southern Miss when I left there, and then the daughter went to the University of Texas, and then the one daughter went to the University of North Carolina, and then the youngest is at Alabama.
So on a Saturday, who are you rooting for?
Well, like now I'm not rooting for anybody unless there's a coach on that staff that I know, and so that's been a fun part of it. But I will say this year I was able to go to a game at Alabama with my daughter for like a parents weekend deal. So the first time I've ever experienced that, I got to go to, her sorority and meet all of her friends and go to the tailgate, which was unbelievable. I'm like, no wonder people enjoy doing this, and I can't say that I love sitting in the stands watching the game, but the rest of it was spectacular.
That's a great stadium to watch a game at. I mean, in the SEC, I can't think of, there's one place to me that compares to Alabama, like fan wise, and it's probably LSU.
Yeah, I've coached in Death Valley, never been in the stands. So I've coached there. Actually coached there the year they won the national championship. We were the only team that beat them, so I was pretty happy with that.
Oh yeah, okay. Wow,
I was in Florida at the time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay. So I grew up a huge Gator fan. So I love that part of your resume. To me, the Swamp is iconic, and it would have been biased of me to say that that's like the best place in the SEC. But in all of college football, do you have a place that's just like the coolest place to coach or the coolest place to play?
I have some really great memories of that game at Death Valley. I mean, the crowd there can be unbelievable. They're partying all day long to go to the game, and they're having a good time. And so it was extremely loud, and it was a lot of fun. Anytime you get out with a win, it makes it more fun.
Oh yeah. Especially when it's that type of team. What about a player for you that's been like the coolest to coach or the best to coach, or just someone who I know you're proud of.
That's hard to say. There's been so many. I mean, really, probably the one of the funniest is Eric Ebron there at North Carolina. I mean, there was never a dull moment with Eric. He was a great player, but he always had he had such a tremendous attitude about everything, and he was always so happy-go-lucky. But I mean, I can name so many, from AJ Blue to Kevin Reddick to Giovanni Bernard to Mitch Trubisky to Quinshaw Davis to Ryan Switzer to, it's just, I can go on and on. I mean, I love every one of those guys, and at every stop along the way, I've built a relationship with guys that lasts a lifetime.
And how cool that you've gotten to see so many of those guys succeed, especially some of them who, maybe didn't have that amazing story in college, or who didn't do all of these things, or weren't the biggest, the strongest, whatever. And then they go on and they do amazing things, or even if they did.
I mean, just go look at Mac Hollins.
Yeah.
Mac Hollins was a walk-on at North Carolina, and now he's the captain of the Ravens. I mean, so there's so many, and the guys that are doing those things that aren't even in in professional football,
right?
But they're married, they have children, and they have great lives, and that the university, did them a great benefit. They got so much from the university, and they become a better person because of it. So no matter where I coached, I always felt like as long as those guys got their degree and it was a positive experience for them, it was going to be good for their lives.
Well, I know you still have relationships with them. How do your relationships evolve from being their coach to maybe being somewhat of their friend or father figure once you're no longer their coach? I know some of them you still have some text chains, maybe little FaceTimes here and there. How does that evolve?
Those are the things that make your heart swell when they text you, on Father's Day, or they tell you about their child. They'll text you about having a baby, or that they're getting married, and they invite you to their wedding. I just went last week. My wife and I went out to eat with Jeff Schottmer and Caleb Presley. And
Love
so
it.
they were in Dallas. And so we went out to eat with them and had a great night that night, just reminiscing and talking about, just everything. And so it's so, that's so rewarding to see that you did have an impact on young men's lives.
And I know when you catch up with them, like you're just talking about like fun stuff. Like that's what's so cool. Like you're like you said, you're celebrating all of these big moments in their lives, which is so special and cool. Like that you were part, you see people grow up, right? Like when we're in college, they're 18-year-olds and now they're having kids or business ventures or getting married. Like that's such a big deal. That's really
Yeah,
neat.
it really is. And they're also telling you stories about things they did back in college that you had no idea about. And you're like, oh my God,
You're
but
like, oh, I didn't remember that. I thought that was a rule. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
So were you pretty strict with
Yeah. I
the
mean, I
guidance
wouldn't
maybe?
say we had a lot of rules. Basically, it was just do what's right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the number one thing. Just do what's right. But we did discipline you if you didn't do things the right way. If you made mistakes, we understood that you were going to make mistakes. That's part of growing as a young man into a grown man, is that you do make mistakes. You learn from those mistakes. You face the consequences of those mistakes, and then you move on. And so, yeah, we had consequences in everything that we did. And so some people may say it was too hard. Some people may say it wasn't hard enough, but it was the way we did things.
What about now with your free Saturdays, Fridays? You have some free time now. You mentioned you're hunting and you're golfing and you're just enjoying time with your family. What else are you enjoying with this free time you now have?
Well, I'm this Friday we're taking off, and we're driving up to Stillwater, Oklahoma, to watch University of Texas and Oklahoma State, because I coached at both of
Nice.
those places, and
That's
so I
right.
know guys on both those squads. And so so we've done that. We're going to games that fit into our schedule, and we're just traveling and spending time with friends. I mean, doing things that
Nice.
I have never had the time to do. To actually go and just maybe see some people that you haven't seen in a long time, and rekindle friendships that just kind of faded away over the years as life got in the way. So I enjoy just quiet evenings with my wife. I mean,
Yeah.
because now that we're empty nesters, I mean, for 38 years, she was basically running the household and I was gone all the time. And so, we're able to reconnect, and that's been a great experience.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm sure just even driving and spending time together, like you didn't have that before, right? She'd maybe see you after the game or late at night. Like there's
Yeah.
so much that doesn't people don't know all of these things that you're missing out on.
And
Um,
even when I was with her at that time, my mind was on recruits and what needed to go into tomorrow's workouts, what you had to do for the next day, the next week, the next semester, all those things. And so, I don't have those worries right now. So it's nice that I can focus on my wife and kids now.
did something kind of click inside of you when you were ready to step away? Did you have this overall feeling or kind of readiness that it was time?
Yeah, you start looking around, and one thing I knew is I was very passionate about the game and only knew about one way to go about it. And, that's to work a lot of hours and put a lot of time and effort into it. And, you know, I didn't want to have a heart attack on the sideline. I didn't want to die doing my job, and so I figured 38 years of it, I'm 60 years old now. You start thinking about, when you get to be my age, you start thinking about how much longer do you have, and what do you want to do at that time? And for all these years, the focus has been on football and other players. And so now, for the remainder of this time, I think I kind of want to focus on in having fun and focus on my wife and my kids.
Absolutely. What kind of advice do you have for your kids, whether that be your kids or the kids that you got to coach at all of your different stops? Is there kind of a piece of advice you always offer?
Well, everything, we all know that we're all going to have adversity in this life, no matter what it is. I mean, there's going to be good days, bad days. You're either in a problem right now, or you just got out of one, or guess what? One's coming around the corner, right? So, but you're going to overcome it. That the best advice is just having some grit and determination about yourself, and you're going to overcome anything that happens in this world, anything, and you're going to be a better person because of it. But, I would say just dream and go after your dreams, and don't let anybody tell you can't make it, that you won't make it. You can do anything you want in this world. That's a real thing. That is a real thing. I mean, I was the son of a barber, and I became a Division I football coach because that was my dream and that was my goal, and so you can do anything you want. I didn't say it would be easy, but you can do anything you want.
That's pretty cool. And I think I always kind of live by this one too, like where you just need one person to take a chance on you. Did you have that one person who, allowed you to be a GA or shadow them or kind of helped guide you in order to help you move up the ranks to eventually become a D1 football coach?
I would say, really, I mean, there's a lot, it's that you can make that little story of, you go down the road and you see a turtle on a fence post, right? Well, he didn't get there by himself.
Yeah.
Somebody helped him get up there, right? So, I mean, there have been so many people along the way for me, really. I mean, from the very first coach that hired me at Garland High School to Grant Taff at Baylor that allowed me to come in as a GA when I was 30 years old with a pregnant wife, and go on to Fisher DeBerry, who hired me at the Air Force Academy, to Andy McCollum that gave me my first offensive coordinator's job at Middle Tennessee State, and then Ron Zook, who hired me at the University of Florida to be his offensive coordinator. And, and then it just took off from there and to Oklahoma State with Mike Gundy. And then I got a head job. So Richard Giannini and the AD at the University of Florida had a lot to do with me getting the head coaching job at Southern Miss. And then from there, to going to North Carolina. So, I mean, just, it's always about people. Yeah. People say, where's the best place you lived? Where was the best place you coached? They've all been great. They really have, because it's always about the people you're around. You surround yourself with good people, then the rest of it is going to be easy.
Absolutely. That's good advice in itself. Every podcast I've done, people don't realize they're offering advice in every answer they give. I'm like, you just offered some good advice. You didn't really know. I was talking to some of my Carolina friends, and I was like, I've got a pretty cool guest coming up. And one thing that they thought would be neat for a college coach to know of a college coach is one of your favorite things to do in all of the places you've been. And I know you've been a number of stops, but was there something special, like, you go back and you see your daughter at Carolina, or when you go to Texas, or when you go to Gainesville? Is there something that you do every time, or something that you like in each of these stops?
One thing, I mean, it's kind of, but I've been so many places that I love going back and seeing the houses that we lived in.
Yeah.
And I love, for my kids, it's okay. We had 2 born in Waco. We had 1 born in Colorado Springs. We had 1 born in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. For them to be able to go back and see where they were born, and because, they don't really have a home of one place that they went from kindergarten all the way through high school in. And so it's different, I mean, I can tell you stories of being in the hotel room on Christmas Eve, getting ready to play in a bowl game, and people going, wow, why are y'all here? It's Christmas Eve. Shouldn't you be at home? It's like, well, this is what we do for Christmas. I mean, this is our life, and our children don't know any different. They don't know anything about sitting in front of the fireplace and singing Christmas carols or whatever people do, We're always in at a bowl site. We're always there having fun, and so that's all they know. So yeah, our life's been very different, but it's been really rewarding and a lot of fun.
Any of your kids into sports, or have they kind of channeled different areas of interest?
Well, my son is a sports agent. So he's an agent for guys coming out of college going into the pros, and all 3 daughters are they don't do they're not doing anything with sports, but they're they love watching football. I mean, they're watching football on Saturdays, every Saturday. They'll tell me about games. They know what's going on, and so they keep up with it.
And I'm sure they know a lot. I mean, I My dad wasn't a college football coach. He probably thinks he could have been. And he's an attorney, but that's how
everybody thinks they could be.
Right. I know. He'll probably tell you he could have coached alongside you, but he sitting alongside him on the couch is how I learned every game, and how I became what I think was an enabled sports anchor, was just sitting next to my dad and listening to how he would describe the game and teach me about it. And I'm sure having a dad who was a college football coach makes that tenfold, because you taught them, I'm sure, way more details about the game. So I'm sure they're very, very knowledgeable about college football.
Well, they've been, I couldn't tell you how many games they've been to in their lives. So they've been going since they were born. So it's been, but it's been a great experience.
Well, so now that you won't be in a hotel this year for the holidays, what kind of plans are you looking forward to? Just being with your family and not having to travel, or just be, out of your house for those.
Yeah, so it'll be nice, because where I live in Waco, I'm about an hour and a half from my home, which was College Station, Texas. And so both my parents are still there. My three brothers and their families all live there. And so, we'll go there and as one huge family, get together for Christmas and spend some time together. So again, that's been nice to be so close and to be able to see them. For 38 years, I was all over the country, and unless they came out there, I didn't get to see them, because I didn't have the time. And so it was always difficult, but now I'm able to spend a lot of time with my mom, my dad, at this point in their lives.
That's really important and special that you still have them.
Yeah.
Is there anything that anyone doesn't know about you that maybe we've been missing out on from the Larry Fedora coaching era, now that you're Larry Fedora citizen?
I'm I'm a pretty, people don't know that I'm a pretty easygoing guy. I was pretty intense as a football coach. And when you're in charge of 120 guys, that are 18 to 22 years old, you got a lot of things on your mind all the time. But, I've relaxed a lot. I enjoy the little things. I enjoy just driving down the road and looking at the scenery, and just slowing down a little bit, and just realizing that, there's God's created some tremendous things out there, and each and every day we get a chance to see them.
Again, some more beautiful advice, like, to live by. I feel like every time I talk to someone, I'm like, dang, you're giving me goosebumps with all this. Like, just stop and smell the roses is, I think, what I just heard.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And there'll be a day when you're at this age and you'll realize, oh, that's pretty important.
Well, hey, I mean, even now I'm learning, and having been away from my family so many times, and holidays and just important events, you realize you can't get them back. And I think you're a great example of, you can live the dream. And you and I were talking about this earlier, like, you can do the things you love, and then at some point you realize you did that thing, and then you don't want to, like you said, have a heart attack on the sideline. You want to enjoy
what I
it.
also found out, Jourdan, is that there are a lot of people out there in this world that don't care about football. I mean, I had no idea.
They're in my DMs. Yeah.
I had no idea there are people out there that have lives during football season. I mean, it's like, I didn't know that happened. That was one of the biggest surprises to me of everything.
I know. What do people do on Saturdays when they're not watching college football? You know what I'm learning too, now that I'm in Chicago, we were talking about, I live in professional sports world, and I'm such a college sports fan that I'm like, oh wait, people like, and I obviously grew up in a place with professional sports, but like, people like professional sports, and they don't really care about your college team here in Chicago. They don't care.
You're right.
They have no plans on a Saturday. That have to do with college. And I'm slowly learning that. I'm a little bit offended by it, but I'll become a Chicagoan soon.
There you go.
Yeah. But you're right. There are a lot of people out there that it's not for everyone, but there's something really cool about football. I think I was reignited by that, watching like Tennessee beat Alabama and kick that field goal. And I was like, this sport, there's nothing like it.
No, it's the greatest sport in the world. There's no doubt about it. And the lessons those young men learn from playing the sport, and the sacrifices they make, and it just, these are lifelong lessons that will make them, who they are. And so it's a great sport, really is.
It really is. And yeah, I just think it's the coolest one in the world. And if anyone's listening who doesn't like football, I'd encourage you to take part in it, because there's nothing like being a fan. I never got to play it, but I sure love the game no matter what, and I always will. So I hope you get to enjoy it as a fan now, Coach, because it really is so special. You've been on the sideline for so long, and now I love that you're getting to enjoy it as a fan. It's been really cool for me to be a fan of so many things too, after having been on the sideline working. I love just getting to watch the game and see so many things I kind of miss too. Like, are you picking up on some things that you didn't get to realize, like just the pomp and circumstance of it all?
A lot of you have no idea, because you're such a, as coaches, you're in this routine. You fly to the place, you go to the stadium, you go back to the hotel. The next morning, you wake up, you do pregame meal, you go to the stadium. You don't see anything that goes on, and it's amazing of what's going on in these towns, and in the tailgating, and the bands, and the cheerleaders, and all the things that go into it. It's just such a huge production, and I can see why people get so excited about it, and they make it, it's entertainment. It's not just a 3 or 4 hour game to them. It's the 4 hours leading up to the game. It's the game. It's the 4 hours after the game. It's an entire day of just fun for their families.
Totally. It's just so cool. I'm like already getting excited for the weekend, and excited to go to a game. I'm jealous that you're getting to go to one. I hope you guys have so much fun, and I just hope you enjoy this stage of your life. I know you already have, because it seems like you're just in a really good place, and I think that's really cool that you've been able to find that, and I know your family probably enjoys it too. So I really appreciate you. I'm so glad we were able to get the scoop with you, Coach. And I just really appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time. Where can everyone find you?
Well, I'm in Waco, Texas, so we're just south of Waco and Woodway, and if anybody's down this way, look us up and give us a holler.
What about online, on social media? Can they find you there too?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram. I've got all that stuff. So yeah, I'm not hard to find if you want to find me.
All right. Well, we'll look you up. Larry Fedora.
You found me on Instagram.
I found you on Instagram. That's how we got this connection, Coach. And I appreciate you. He opened up his DMs and came on Scoop du Jour. So we so appreciate it. And I'm really grateful. So thank you, Coach.
You bet. Thank you. And I've enjoyed it. And I hope you have a great weekend.
Thanks, Coach.